Okay, good morning everyone. If we could follow the usual format, please. If you wish to ask a question, please raise your hand, and as always, the full recording will be circulated after the press conference. Gary, if you could kick us off from Sky, please.
Yeah, hello Dean, thanks for your time.
Morning Gary, you okay?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Very well. I hope you are as well.
Yeah.
Can you let us in on any team news or injury updates?
We have got a couple of players who we're having a look at this morning who've got a couple of knocks, and we've got a couple of COVID-related issues that we're waiting on results for this morning. I can't really let you into any names at the moment, obviously, but there's 3 or 4 players at the moment that we're waiting on.
If not names, Dean, because obviously it's very much in vogue at the moment, we all need to be as careful as we can. The players, the COVID players, is it players, and about how many?
No, there's a couple of players who we're worried about. So we've tested and we'll wait for the PCR results back on them. Just feeling a little bit unwell. Not likely to be linked to the game last week with Tottenham. But it's just a general, I think, with the whole nation at the moment of holding our breaths at the moment.
So a bit of a lucky escape in a way that you haven't suffered as a club as a result of the Tottenham outbreak.
No, because the protocols that are in place, are preventing the outbreaks happening from all clubs. The players we can control in our environment. We can't control obviously what they do in their own time, but they're all aware of the importance of looking after each other and socially distancing and wearing masks now. So thankfully, our first round of testing was all clear.
So the 2 you may or may not lose, you could do without that ahead of playing Man United, couldn't you?
Yeah, we certainly could. We've had a relatively healthy squad. We had a couple of injuries a couple of weeks ago to Milo Rashica and Matthias Norman. But other than that, it's been a pretty healthy squad. So, yeah, it's been a bit of a setback, especially coming up against Manchester United. And
you can't use Brandon either, of course.
No, obviously Brandon, on loan from Manchester United, unavailable. And I thought he was excellent last week against Tottenham as well, and he's coming into his own.
What about Todd Cantwell? Been a bit in and out, up and down health-wise as well. Any chance for him to start?
There's a chance he can get himself into the squad. He's trained really well the last few days. Obviously, when I first came in, we gave him his start. Myself and Craig Shakespeare. We know what he can offer. He can create. He can score as well. And he is a talented individual. He was just a little bit off it that first few weeks, but I've been pleased with what I've seen over the last few days or last week in general. So hopefully, he can push for the starting place now.
1-1, lost 1, drawn 2. Was that about what you were hoping for when you arrived?
I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. I've been, as I've said, pleasantly surprised at the level of the players and the attitude and the application. I think we've probably played better than the points haul has returned. I've been happy with all but the half game against Southampton. I felt we could have been better on the ball at Newcastle. And I thought it was an unfair scoreline at Tottenham last week. So, yeah, we're moving in the right direction. I think we're a tough team to beat now. But 2 big games at home, and hopefully we can get some points out of them.
Yeah, of course, Manchester United just packed with superstars. How do you approach a game like that?
Yeah, they are packed with superstars. We all know that. Manchester United is a massive name across the world. And they've got real top players, and they've brought in a top coach now. And, I was saddened to hear that Ole had lost his job, because I knew what the football club meant to him. But like myself, we know what football is about. And, Ralph has come in, and already you can see an identity, what he brings into his teams.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, whether or not it's too early to see a Ralph Rangnick side just yet.
I think it's too early, but you'll see certainly signs of the identity that he will bring. And top players adapt very quickly, and they've got top players within their squad. So, we're full of respect for them. But at Carrow Road, it's going to be an important place for us to gather points, and Manchester United game is going to be no different.
Top man, good luck with the COVID results. Thanks, Dean.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary. Okay, if we go to Tom Williams, please, from the BBC.
Morning, Dean. How's it going?
Yeah, morning, Tom. I'm good, thank you.
Excellent. Just back on the COVID protocols that you mentioned, that you sort of been ramping up, I suppose. I read that the Premier League has told its clubs to go to emergency measures. What sort of differences are we seeing then? What do you have to do now that perhaps you weren't doing before?
It'd be similar measures to what we've had previously, so it won't be too much newness about it from what the lads were doing before. But there will be masks inside the building, no prolonged meetings, and obviously soft tissue massaging will be kept to a minimum as well. So the normal kind of stuff which was being prevented before.
Goodness me, just another headache on top of trying to manage a team and keep them up.
It is. I mean, we've obviously all been through this pandemic over the last 2 years. So, it's become part of our lives, unfortunately, at the moment. And, hopefully we can, soon get rid of it.
Out of interest, obviously, fingers crossed, nothing's resulted off the back of that Spurs game. But do you think about players interacting with each other, particularly at full-time handshakes? Would you advise it, or at the moment, would you say, be a bit more sensible about it and keep your distance at the end of the game?
No, I think you've got to keep your distance, but the protocols are there for a reason. If we're following them, then there shouldn't be too many worries about a spread. I think we're fairly fortunate that we're in a position where we get tested very regular. We have compliance officers on site all the time, looking to making sure the regulations are being followed. So I think we're in a really good and safe place.
Away from COVID, as you said, the Spurs game was unfortunate. You never really should have lost that 3-0. You had the chances to have drawn it 3-3 probably. So have you been working on finishing practice this week?
We've done a bit of forward play. I was disappointed with the last couple of goals that we conceded as well. So, my big remit when I came into the players, and the homework I gave them, was to make us a harder team to beat, not give away big chances. And, that's why I was particularly disappointed with the second goal. But going and creating chances as well. We created 3, big chances during the game. And if we do that, then, we'll start taking them. We've got the players that are capable of doing that. Just unfortunately on the day, it wasn't to be.
And just finally, Dean, I think there was a sense amongst fans earlier this season, perhaps, in a sense from the manager as well, that there was a bit of an intimidation factor when Norwich came up against these big sides, whether it be Chelsea or Man City. How are you going to approach Man U? Because, clearly they're a big hitter, but if you're fearful, it can end in disaster, as Norwich fans saw against Chelsea.
Yeah, they are a big hitter, but we're in the same league, and this league is a very competitive one, and we want to be as competitive as we can, especially at home. We won't be fearful of Manchester United for sure. We'll give them plenty of respect, which they deserve, but our players don't need to be fearful. They need to, be ready to go and play the quality football that we can go and play. Yes, we will probably need plenty of 8 out of 10s to go and win the game, but I have a belief in the players that they can do that.
Great. Best of luck. Thanks, Dean.
Cheers, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, James from TalkSport, please.
Morning, Dean. How are you?
Morning, James. Good, thank you.
Dean, how do you feel about the impact that you've had so far? You spoke earlier about being tough to beat now. Was that the most important thing you had to do when you came in?
Yeah, I felt so. I mean, we were fortunate that we'd won that last game against Brentford. But I felt, looking back on the games that I watched, that we conceded too many sloppy goals. A little bit too easy for the opposition to create big chances. And that was an important aspect of, building from the back. I believe there's players here who can score, and I know at the moment the goals for tally isn't, anywhere where we'd like it, but you could see with the quality of the chances that we created at Tottenham that we're getting on the right track.
6 league games in the space of 22 days now is obviously a huge period. What sort of challenge are you setting the squad for this time?
No more than look at the next game. we can't get too many steps ahead of us. We know how many games there are coming up. We know how important Carrow Road is going to be to us as well. So, the Manchester United game and then the game on Tuesday are going to be, big games for us. Manchester United, we all know, will be expected to come here and gain all 3 points. But the confidence is growing within the team. The control that we had against Tottenham, despite the scoreline last week, will give us that extra confidence as well.
You beat Manchester United with Aston Villa in September. Have you kept your notes from that game, or is it a completely different challenge now there's a new manager in place?
I certainly keep my notes from any win that I've had in my career, but it would be a different challenge. I've got a different set of players. Manchester United got a new manager, so there's going to be a lot of differences. But Manchester United will have the same players. There might be 2 or 3 changes from that team that played against Aston Villa earlier in the season. So the thing that me and Craig will actually tell the players is that the team is beatable if we play to our levels.
And finally, from me, what did you read into Ralph Rangnick's first game in charge? I guess you probably didn't look too much at the young boys game because there were so many changes. But what sort of football team are you expecting to come to Carrow Road tomorrow?
Well, we saw in that first game against Palace there were certain tactical tweaks that from a new manager coming in, and I would fully expect a few more. Obviously, with the week that they've had leading to this game, as you say, a lot of the players who will probably play weren't involved in the young boys game. So they've had a full week's training preparing for this game.
Thanks, Dean. All the best.
Cheers. Thanks, James.
Thanks, James. Okay, we go to Naz from PLP, please. Naz.
Hi, Dean. You okay? Good to hear from you again.
All right, Naz, yourself?
Yes, not too bad. Not too bad. Interestingly enough, I was going to ask, at the bottom end, normally at this time of the season, you'd see teams cut adrift, but the position that everyone's in, including yourselves, everything's there to play for, and the gap is maybe 3 points, 4 points. You get a couple of wins on the board, and suddenly you're looking way up the table. Has it surprised you how close and how tight it is at the bottom this time round?
I think so. It hasn't surprised me that the likes of Liverpool, Man City and Chelsea look like they're running away at the top of the league. So they seem to appear to be the teams that are beating everybody else, where, you can go and get a result against the Manchester United, Tottenham and Arsenal this season, or that's how it's looked so far or appeared. Very rare at this stage in the season, you'll see, a team like Manchester United and Arsenal have lost five or six games already. So it's that kind of season that we're in. And I think that's what's probably kept everybody that close down the bottom. We've helped ourselves by the last 4 games doubling our points tally, which has got us in and amongst it now. And a couple of wins puts you 15th, 14th in the league, and that's what we have to be looking at to try and do.
What's it been like for you the last few weeks? Because it's been a bit like a whirlwind with everything that's happened, and obviously you're here now. How have you sort of coped with all the changes, and how are you finding it? And you've had a few weeks now. You enjoying life there at Norwich?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And, it's not such the whirlwind that everybody else on the outside sees it, because as soon as, I made the decision with Shaky to come to Norwich, you become immersed in the Norwich bubble. And there's a group of players and a group of staff who are all pulling in the same direction, and it's been really enjoyable, really welcoming. I think the hardest person it's for is obviously my family and the dog, who's not getting walked as much now.
In terms of, it's been mentioned before by everybody else, but the performances have been there, haven't they, Dean? And it's just a case of being maybe a bit more ruthless, a bit more clinical in front of goal, and taking those chances that you've obviously created in the games you've been in charge. Yeah,
I thought Tottenham last week showed their clinical side that we hadn't, that we didn't. We created as good a chances as Tottenham. We had a big chance at 0-0 and a big chance at 1-0 down as well, which could have changed the game. But I was pleased with the performance. I was pleased with the control we had. A lot of neutrals said that Tottenham sat back. Well, if that was sitting back, I saw their total distance covered, and it was their best of this season. and it was their best for a couple of years as well, which shows that they were working hard to try and keep us out.
And that's got to be a huge positive, hasn't it? Obviously, again, it's been mentioned. You went to Old Trafford and won, different manager, different circumstances, but because of the way this season's panned out, everything's to play for at the weekend, and it wouldn't be the biggest surprise to see Norwich, get that unlikely victory against Manchester United, would it?
Well, we don't believe so. We believe that we're quite capable in that dressing room. But as I said earlier, with the players they've got, would like a few of them to be underperforming, and certainly our players be getting 8 out of 10s.
It's good to see you, and best of luck at the weekend, Dean. Thank you.
And you. Thanks, Naz.
Thanks, Naz. Okay, Michael from The Athletic, please.
Morning, Dean.
Morning, Michael.
I'm a bit worried about your dog. Are you going to be reunited with him? Is it him before Christmas?
Yeah, hopefully. Fortunately, my boy's back from America now, so he's got the dog walking duties.
Fantastic. I hope you're paying him for that. I just a couple of players wanted to touch on, please. I mean, it had been suggested that Matthias Norman could be back available after his pelvic injection for Saturday. Is that looking possible?
No, he won't be available for this weekend, although he is feeling a lot better, and we're certainly hopeful for over the Christmas period now.
Okay, but maybe Villa will be too soon next week?
Villa he could make Villa, but we'll have to see how he is over the weekend.
Fair enough. I'll postpone that question then. Dimmy will obviously get, again, Brandon's obviously out, so logic would assume that that Dimmy Enulis can come back in for tomorrow, but I appreciate there's a few issues, so I don't know if you'll tell me if he is available or not. But I mean, has Dimmy been a little bit unlucky to be in and out of the side, appreciating that Brandon's done well in recent games?
Yeah, I mean, Dimmy is available for the weekend, and he's trained well. I just felt that, Brandon's done well in the first 4 games. I thought Tottenham as well was probably his best game, his best performance, especially carrying the ball forward and creating opportunities. So the biggest compliment I've given to Brandon is the fact that he doesn't look like he's a lone player, which is really, really good to see. But Dimmy has been training really well, and he's certainly took mine and Shaky's eye over in the training sessions we've had.
I mean, he's been a little bit unfortunate, I suppose. I mean, there are a couple of games against the bigger teams, I think Manchester City and Chelsea, where we got pulled at half time, I think, for mistakes. Yet, as I said, looking at him is maybe being a little bit unlucky to have not featured more. Do you see that there is more in Dimmy to come out if he gets some game time?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he doesn't look out of place on the training ground with fellow Premier League players. There's many defenders that will get torn apart by the likes of Liverpool, Man City and Chelsea. So I certainly don't read an awful lot into that, and I can only judge him for what I've seen. I've been pleased with what I've seen so far.
I assume once you've watched those games from before you joined, I think on the flight back over to then take the job on, have you reflected any more on that early part of the season, or has it literally been everything you've kind of looked at since you got involved in the players?
Yeah, no, I'd done my homework before, as you know, but since then it's been just judging the players on what I actually see on a day-to-day basis, their behaviours in and around the training ground, on the training pitch, and assessing, how I think we can improve them and make them into better players to help us become a better team.
Brilliant. And just a couple more. I mean, have you come across Ralph much yourself? I know you said you went and watched, was it Pep Guardiola? No, I might be getting it wrong now, but I mean, have you come across Ralph before?
No, I think any coach would have known about Ralph Rangnick and the work that he's done, and certainly looked into the Red Bull model that he helped build as well and mould. So certainly know an awful lot about him, but not come across him. No.
Okay, well, I mean, enjoy meeting him. And just finally, I mean, the way they pressed against Crystal Palace was sort of quite different to how they've done it before. I mean, if they do that at Carrow Road, how difficult is that to face? But also, how do you deal with it? What's the best way of dealing with a press that aggressive and that quick, I suppose, and intense?
Yeah, well, you have to know where your outballs are. You have to have an understanding of how to beat a press. coming into football, there's only ever three ways of getting through a team, and that's passing through them, going round them, or going over them. There's no other way I know of. So, one of them ways will be the right way on the weekend.
That's brilliant, Dean. Thank you. Loads of luck.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Michael. Okay, Jim from again, please, Jim.
Morning, Dean.
Morning, Jim.
You mentioned just on the COVID cases within the squad. How are things looking from the coaching staff side? No issues there. You guys all okay?
Yeah, no, we're all fine, thank you.
With that, is it a difficult situation for, I guess, all managers to be in now? I was on the press conference with Antonio Conte on Wednesday, and obviously could see how sort of concerned he is, because you guys are going in there just trying to do your job, but obviously you've got all the extra concerns of, as you say, what players do outside the bubble, and also you guys going back to your families and everything like that as well. So I guess it's a difficult situation to be through.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation, but it's one that we've been going through for quite a long time. So we've got used to it slightly. I think we're as well protected as we can be. The protocols that the Premier League have put in place are pretty stringent. So we're quite tight in what we do. And, the players know they've got a duty of care when they leave here, to make sure that they're not passing on. And we've got a very high vaccinated record at the football club as well, so there's not certainly very many here who aren't vaccinated, which is a real big positive as well.
I guess if some of the first team guys aren't available, you might have to look at bringing some of the younger guys in. Do you have any issues that any of those might be sort of overruled by the occasion?
No, not at all. I've been watching a regular watching of our 23s already, and we've got a good squad there, and if players drop out, then players get moved up. That's the nature of the beast. And, they're being prepared by Alan Nielsen and his team to be prepared for that situation.
Just on the touch on the finishing issue, if I can, do you think it's more of a psychological issue maybe with the forwards now rather than the technical issue? Because people kind of say, Josh just needs a goal and then he'll get going. And, same with Adam and, obviously, Timu's been in decent form as well recently.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at the games that we played. We scored a good couple of goals against Southampton. We created some good chances against Wolves where we should have done better. Norwich, we didn't create the kind of chances that we needed. Spurs, we created really good chances at really good times. And I looked at the chances again, and if you present them to Timu Pukki again, he scores probably 8 out of 10 times. And it was just unfortunate. It was one of them times that he didn't. From what I've seen on the training ground in the forward play that we've done, they're good finishers. So, yeah, there may be a psychological part, but also, it's taking them big moments when they come on the biggest stage of all.
Jim, can you hear us, Jim?
Yeah, thanks very much. Best of luck on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you.
John.
Hi, Dee.
Hi, John.
Just with the COVID, can I just clarify, is it that you've got a couple of players who feel a bit under the weather and you're checking for COVID, or have they tested positive and you're checking whether it's a full...
The first one.
First one, okay. Well, that sounds better than that. That's good.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned he had a high vaccination record. Obviously, that's good as well. But it seems strange to outsiders that so many footballers don't get vaccinated. It must be an extra headache for every manager, isn't it? Having to worry about this.
Yeah, it is. But we can only follow our government's guidance, I suppose, and which they've made it. It's not compulsory. It's up to the person whether they want to go and have the vaccination or not. So, whilst we believe it's the right thing to go and do, and we've advised all our playing staff and staff at the football club to have it done, there are people who will have their own reasons for not doing it. And unfortunately, we're led by our governance on that.
Is that a conversation you've had with every player? Is it? I mean, you're the manager, you can order them to do it, can you?
And you can't order anybody to go to go and have a vaccination. Unfortunately, no. I can strongly advise, but certainly not order.
Sure. You've obviously kept Cristiano Ronaldo quiet once this season. That's an achievement in itself. How did you do that, and what are the chances of it happening again?
A really good defensive performance, and it has to be that to keep a player like Cristiano quiet. He can score all kinds of goals, as we've seen, not just this season, but over the last 12, 15 seasons. So our players will certainly have to be at their best, and it'll have to be a good defensive performance.
David Beckham Norwich tried to sign David Beckham when he was very small, only to be told he's off to Manchester United. Have you ever had a superstar almost in your clutches, only for them to go on to somewhere else?
No, not really. I mean, the pulling power that Manchester United got as a global club is usually going to beat most clubs. So I've not had that opportunity yet. No.
Fair enough. Brilliant. Thanks so much, and good luck.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. Okay, Paddy Davitt, please.
Dean, how are you, mate?
Morning, Paddy. You okay?
Yeah, you're not had the easiest of build-ups by the sound of everything we've heard this morning.
No, it's been a little bit messy, but a little bit untidy. But to be fair, the lads have been good.
Yeah. Just in terms of, as you say, no Brandon, Dimmy clearly is available. But is it too soon, or is it needs most? Just thinking Sam Barham on the left-hand side of your defence, or is that a little bit too soon, do you think?
I think that's a little bit too soon for Sam. He's only played a 60-minute game so far, or 70 minutes. He's had two exposures to games, and we're looking that Sam could come into the squad, which will be a big boost for him and us, because I've really liked what I've seen so far in training from him. I remembered him from before when he was at Leeds, very, very talented player, who unfortunately has gone through a real rough time with injuries, but it'll be like having a new signing coming to the squad.
I mean, there is another young lad, maybe not as an out left-sided player, but we've not really asked you about him. What you made of young Barley Mumba? He's one they sort of brought in from Sunderland, and previous manager was quite keen. He could see there was something there to work with.
Yeah, no, Barley's trained well with us so far. He's played a couple of 23 games. He played with Sam last week against Wolves, I think it was, away, and played left-back and did really well and scored a goal as well from his left-back position. But no, he's been training with us regularly and looks a good player.
With the two, obviously, COVID scenarios that you're waiting on, even if they come back as all clear, no issues at all, presumably they've not been around the group the last day or two, just in terms of the precaution. Could they come into your thoughts for Saturday, do you think?
Yeah, no, they could definitely come into our thoughts. If the PCPs come back and their PCR, sorry, I think it is PCRs come back and they're okay, then they'll be in the fold with us, that's for sure. Just
final one from me. It strikes me you've got the same scenario this weekend that you really had Spurs and Newcastle, which is new managers going into clubs. Kind of you've maybe benefited from that in the early game or two. But as a coach and a coaching staff, when you're trying to prepare, and you've told us before, tongue in cheek, you're a bit of a data geek, and you try and almost to the nth degree prepare your side. How difficult is it when week after week it's a new manager and you're not quite sure how you might be setting things up?
Yeah, it can be difficult. I mean, what's been fortunate for me is that I've actually played against Wolves, against Tottenham, against Newcastle, against Manchester United already this season. So, they are the same players. As I said, I look at the Man United possible team for Saturday, and I think, there might be 2 or 3 changes maximum. So an awful lot about them players anyway, and what you set up to do last time. So I'm looking forward to it. We took a lot of positives from the Tottenham game, despite the scoreline. And I don't want to be, a glorious loser. That's not the way I work. But when I saw that the total distance they covered in that game was the most since 2019, it showed me that they were working hard to actually win the ball back rather than them just sitting back.
Tom, thanks for your time, Dean. Good luck tomorrow. Cheers.
Thanks, Paddy.
Cheers, Paddy. And final one from Rob Butler, please. Rob.
Hi, Dean. Good to see you.
And you, Robert.
Yeah, let's crack on. Just on the COVID situation, we won't go over it all again. But you said a couple of players feeling unwell. You're not going to name them for obvious reasons. But how much of a tricky job does that give you? You've had it at Villa as well when you were managing there, all this kind of uncertainty. It must be quite frustrating.
Yeah, it is, because I like to be consistent. I like to go and name the team on a Friday and work with that team on what we're going to do and what to expect in the game the following day. Unfortunately, I'm still waiting on a couple of players to know if they're going to be available or not. So it's a little bit of a frustrating time, but you learn how to adapt very quickly in football, and football management especially. So we're very adaptable.
So obviously, if those players are okay and it's all clear, it might be just a case of you naming the team a little bit later tomorrow and going with it from there.
Yeah, we'll look at a couple of scenarios today and possible different teams, and then we'll name that tomorrow. And
you mentioned to Jim earlier about the fact that you've got no qualms bringing in 23s or, maybe even younger players than that. Abu Kamara is a player that you said earlier on caught your eye when he was training with the first team. He has scored lots of goals for the 23s in Premier League 2 this season. And Norwich need goals. It's proved that they need to put the ball in the net. You said it yourself earlier. I mean, is he someone that's perhaps on the fringes there?
He's a player who we've looked at, who's been around us on the training ground. But there's a few other lads as well who've been working close to us. We've been working very hard with the players who are with us as well, and we believe that they're getting better. And I thought the quality of chances we created was really good against a good defensive Spurs team. So we need to go and create that again against a very good Man United team now. Absolutely.
Are you a manager that literally just takes one game at a time? You must have half an eye on that Villa game, mainly because it's a home game and you need the points, and also it's Villa, the team you managed recently.
No, pretty much it's all been about Manchester United. We've got a game, Villa have got a game, and many things can change within them games. So pretty much concentrate on Manchester United, then look at Villa.
Let's talk about Manchester United then. Obviously, it's a massive game. They always are at home, and especially against Manchester United. Last week, Grant Hanley did really well against Harry Kane, kept him quiet. Lots of people are talking about Hanley v Ronaldo this week. Obviously, it's not as simple as that because it's not as if they're going to go directly up against each other. But you must be really pleased at how Grant Hanley played against England's best striker.
Yeah, I think Grant's done well since I've come here, to be honest. He scored the winner in the first game. He made a couple of errors in that game, which he got helped out with. But then errors have since gone, and he's led the team well. Defensively, he's been a rock with the players around him and the leadership that he shows. So I've been really pleased with his output so far.
And it is at home, and obviously managers prefer to play at home, and the atmosphere has been great for your game so far. And it is Manchester United. I think it's fair to say that's probably most clubs' biggest game at home, isn't it? The mighty Manchester United coming to town.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 4 points in our first 2 games at home, and the atmosphere's been tremendous. Our last performance here against Wolves was excellent. So we want more of the same in terms of our performance in the atmosphere. And Manchester United, as you say, coming to town is always a big game. It's a global brand, a global team, and but one that we certainly won't fear.
And just finally, Norwich, I'm sure you know all the stats, but Norwich have got a really good record against Manchester United, especially against Sir Alex Ferguson teams. He's not there anymore, but those kind of things, fans think about, and they get a little bit of confidence. They remember good wins against Manchester United with the likes of Ronaldo in the team. So that's a good omen for you, a bit of superstition.
Yeah, it's a good omen, but we know what a good team that we're coming up against, and we've certainly got to be at our best to go and beat them. And the belief is growing within the group, as I've said, and the confidence. So hopefully we can go and take the game to United.
Brilliant. Thanks, Dean. All the best. Thank you.
Rob. Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, everyone. We'll leave it there, and the recording will be sent around very shortly. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.